Hello everyone and welcome to a slice of my life. It's been a good month or so since I had the GiantMouse Knives ACE Clyde, so it's review time. I'm reviewing the Clyde in tandem with the GiantMouse Nazca, so make sure to hop on over and check that video out once you're done with this one, okay? I'll have links in the description as well as on screen at the end. Oh, if you'd like to check out my unboxing and first impressions, I'll have that linked as well. First, I'd like to thank GiantMouse Knives for sending this over, and a special thanks goes out to Jack Farmboy for making this happen. Let's start off with some specs that I'll have on screen while I talk about the overall aesthetics of the Clyde. The version I have here is the natural micarta version, and this also features a brass thumb stud and backspacer. In order to handle it, I give the brass a thin coat of Renaissance wax because I'm allergic to brass. The design of the Clyde is stunning, which is to be expected from the minds of Jens Anso and Jesper Voxnaes. It sports clean angles from the bolster area, all the way across the spine and to the butt of the handle, and comes back around with a very gentle curve along the area where you wrap your fingers. The spine of the blade is slightly curved as well, which complements the handle design perfectly. The icing on the cake is that the blade features a crowned spine, which not only adds a very nice visual accent, but feels very good to the touch. The jimping on the spine also matches the length of the bolster. The recessed slot on the show side of the scales give you a comfortable amount of space when you want to access the thumb stud, and at the same time it also creates a crescent-like halo that somehow magically highlights the thumb stud and makes it stand out. On the lock side is the wire pocket clip. Right next to the pocket clip is the backspacer that features a lanyard slot, and the design around the lanyard slot is one of the best ones I've seen so far. The bevels of the scales flow perfectly into the lanyard slot. I personally feel that it's things like this that tend to get overlooked because it just sort of makes sense, but it actually requires a lot of thought, deep design knowledge, and high level of execution in order to pull off, and I have to say that this was done remarkably well. Look, the chamfer of the lanyard slot lines up with the bevel of the scales and backspacer sit flush and are perfectly aligned, and the bezels of the exposed part of the lanyard slot are of the same equal thickness throughout. Now we move on to the blade. The Clyde features what is called a trailing point blade. That is, when the spine of the blade curves upwards to create an elevated point that's typically higher than the handle and results in a large belly. It also results in creating a tip that works very well for piercing. The geometry of the plunge is parallel to the angle of the bolster, and it features a sharpening choil. The blade features a stone-washed finish, which I absolutely love, but if that's not your cup of tea, it's also offered in a satin finish on other variants, so take your pick. The blade has no markings on the show side, and on the lock side it sports the GiantMouse and ACE logos along with the blade steel, cleanly etched next to the thumb stud torque screw. The Clyde is designed to sit very comfortably in hand when you're using it, regardless of the grip. Don't be deceived by the seemingly slender handle shape though, it definitely feels larger than it looks. Also, with the blade deployed, the jimping sits at the perfect spot for your thumb. Oh, I wanted to point out that if you take a peek at the lock side liner, you'll find the maker's mark. It reads Vox and Anso on each side of the GiantMouse logo with a Made in Italy mark. Very classy. Closing the knife is a fuss-free experience. The recessed area on the show side allows you to easily disengage the liner lock and close the knife. The detent of the Clyde is nicely dialed in and isn't overly stiff, which makes deployment very snappy and enjoyable. It also helps to pull the blade in with some authority. The blade centering is also on point, so kudos to the overall fit and finish of the knife. In terms of pocket carry, its sleek design, wire pocket clip, and overall weight of 2.8 ounces means that the Clyde sits in your pocket very comfortably. The pocket clip isn't a deep carry clip, so you'll have a bit of the Clyde peeking out. Now before we move on to the juicier part of this video, I'd like to ask you to take a moment to please like this video and consider subscribing if you're not already subbed. That would really help the channel out. Okay, now on to my pros and cons of the Clyde. I'll start with the things that I really like about the Clyde. The first thing of course is the overall design of the Clyde. On the GiantMouse site, it is stated that the Clyde was created as a mix of Scandinavia meets Japan and flirts with the Persians, and I especially like that it really resembles a kaiken, also known as a kwaiken. I love how flush the blade sits within the handle in the closed position, yet looks so proportionate to the handle when the knife is deployed. Next is the overall size of the Clyde. While it looks so slender and sleek, it actually fills the hand very comfortably. To add to that, the micarta scales provide a nice texture and comfortable amount of grip. And of course, I must say that I am most impressed with the workmanship of the knife. Every edge, every chamfer, every bevel, the crowned spine, all of it So well done. Now for the cons. Honestly, the cons I have are just pure nitpicking. Like, I'm being really nitpicky here, so yeah, take this as a heads up. First, I'm a little disappointed that the Clyde, in all its beauty, is a right-hand tip-up carry only knife. Honestly, I carry my knives tip-up, so it isn't going to bother me, but I'm sure that there will be others that favor a tip-down carry. That leads to my next nitpick, that it isn't an ambidextrous knife. While I get the liner locks are natively ambisinistrous, the pocket clip is not reversible, and this only features a single lug thumb stud. However, I said I was being very nitpicky, and so to be fair, all of these quote-unquote flaws of not being ambidextrous is also the reason why the Clyde looks so good in the first place. You'll have to understand and accept that the Clyde favors toward right-handed usage with a tip-up carry. Another thing I wanted to point out is that without a forward choil, I'm unable to choke up on the knife. However, having a forward choil would also take away from the design of the knife and would also leave you with a lot less of an edge to work with. Lastly, the pocket clip. I really like that GiantMouse went for a wide pocket clip, but I don't fancy that it isn't a deep carry clip. It's a personal thing, but I like when my knives sit discreetly in my pocket with very little or nothing peeking out. I don't like prying eyes, especially not here in Singapore. And that's all of my nitpicky nitpicks. All in all, I think the Clyde is a really handsome pocket knife. I love the overall design and I really enjoy how it handles. On top of that, I feel that the $175 price point for this version is a very fair one, especially given the design, materials and workmanship of the knife. It's just got no lefty love. And that is it everyone, thank you so much for sharing in this slice of my life. If you enjoyed this video, please clicky the likey. Please also consider subscribing and ringing the bell. Again, another shout out and thank you to GiantMouse Knives for sending this over. Make sure to hop on over to my other video where I talk about the GiantMouse Knives ACE NASCAR. And I will catch all of you in my next slice. Bye!